How long does it take to actually get pre-qualified? Well, that depends entirely upon you. Here are the things that I look at when I'm getting you pre-qualified. It's a full financial profile. We're talking name, date of birth, social. I'm looking at credit. I'm looking at income, reviewing bank statements. We are looking at all of that stuff. So at the end of the day, it ultimately depends on what documents I'm going to need in order to verify your income. Pre-qualification is what tells us how much you can qualify for, and your income is a major part of that. The income is the biggest piece of that pre-qualification form. In some cases, let's say you work for one of the major employers, and once you make that loan application, I can verify how much money you make. Your employer sends me, your pay stubs. If I can get all that information the same day, in most cases, I can get you pre-qualified that very same day, which means you can start looking at houses the next day. Now, there are some situations where, let's say you're self-employed and you file tax returns yourself. I'm gonna need to see those tax returns so that I can calculate that income. So in most cases, I'm gonna need to see documents that support that so that I can figure out how much you make in accordance with your debts and what it's gonna do to how much you were actually qualified for. Depending on your situation, it can take anywhere from same day to a couple of weeks, depending on how long it takes you to get me those documents. So that is the short answer to how long it takes to actually get pre-qualified. Now, the exciting news is, once you're pre-qualified, that is when you can start the home search. Once you have that piece of paper in your email, in your hand, that's when you can go to a real estate agent and they can start showing you homes to search for. How long is the pre-qualification actually good for? It's good for 4 months. So that's why I recommended you start 4 months prior. Let's say you've got maybe a tricky credit situation and we barely qualified with your current credit score. Well, we don't want to have to re-pull credit right after that, because if your credit score drops, that can affect that pre-qualification. You always want to start about 4 months ahead of time. That way you know everything's good. But keep in mind, if it does extend beyond that 4 months, we are going to have to pull new credit. So you still want to make sure you're paying your credit cards on time, paying all your bills on time. So those are the main timelines. So number one, how long does it take to get pre-qualified? Typically same day or within a few days, depending on how long it takes me to verify the information that I need. Number two, the pre-approval is good for 4 months from the time you have the pre-qualification to the time that you can go under contract with a house. Now, once you're pre-qualified, this doesn't mean that you are done talking with your lender. In fact, usually when I pre-qualify somebody, it gives them an idea of what their overall budget is. So once you have that, then you can start the home search. But every home is unique. They have HOA fees, they have different taxes. There's a lot of things that go into that total monthly payment. So my recommendation is, after you're pre-qualified, start searching for homes with your realtor. Once you find one that you're interested in, that you're thinking about making an offer on, send me that address. That way I can plug in those numbers, pull the taxes, pull the HOA, and we can have everything ready to go so that you know exactly how much money you're going to be spending monthly on this house, as well as what your total out-of-pocket may be. In some situations, you may need the seller to pay your closing costs in order to have enough money for your down payment. We can structure all of that ahead of time with the offer so that when you make that offer, or when your real estate agent makes that offer on that home, you can feel strongly knowing that you can actually afford that home. That's the major purpose of a pre-qualification. If you just go out and start searching for homes and you haven't done that process first, you might end up under contract and find out you can't even qualify for it, and your dreams are crushed, and that's kind of just a bummer situation. So you always want to start with the lender first, get pre-qualified. That way you can just shop with absolute confidence. And again, knowing those numbers before you even make that offer is such a powerful tool to help you budget and just in overall wealth creation and what you're doing for yourself. The other major question I get is the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Are they the same? Are they different? Well, they are actually different. So a pre-qualification is what I just finished talking about. That's when it's me reviewing your income, reviewing your credit, making sure you qualify. We run it through like an automated underwriting system, which is basically what tells us if it's approved, not approved, or needs a second look. Once I have verified that information and I have that automated approval and I've verified all of your income, you are pre-qualified. What I'd like to do is we go the extra step to make it a pre-approval by sending it to an actual underwriter. So no longer an automated computer program, but an actual person, the same person that is going to underwrite your loan once you're actually under contract. At Loan Depot, we have a unique opportunity where we can send everything to underwriting prior to you getting under contract with that house, which means now we know that we're officially approved. We'll even have the list of conditions, which means when your loan is initially approved, there are conditions that go with it. Maybe we need to see more bank statements, or we need to verify that your employer is still having you work 40 hours a week. Whatever the case case may be, there's always conditions when it comes to that initial loan approval. And again, when we're pre-approved, we're gonna know ahead of time what those are so that you can be one step ahead of the game. Once you're under contract with that house, you can get those submitted to us and we can close in a very quick timeline, sometimes in as little as 10 to 15 days, depending on your situation. And I think these are important timelines to understand, and knowing the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval, because ultimately it's just gonna help you shop with more confidence, again, knowing when you go into that home, it's gonna be the right one for you and that you can actually afford it.